Time zones?
Welcome to the podcast.
Well,
I decided to not do the podcast. The time zone thing.
the last second, we're all talking about
I was
it.
trying to fucking explain that to you, but then Dave was saying something about being on the East Coast, and Jake was just like, well, when you figure out when you don't want to do that, just take a sip of your beer. And I was like, I don't want to do that story. So
Well, so Dave kind of fucked up too, because he's like, it'll be a 4-hour spread. It will not be a 4-hour spread. It'll be a 3-hour spread because there's only 3 hours maximum difference between the East Coast and the West Coast.
This is a 4-hour. There's 4 time zones. It's 4
Yeah,
hours.
if you're counting fucking like Hawaii.
If East Coast, Central.
no,
Mountain,
I think
West.
Dave's on to something here. Yeah,
Because I'm in
because
mountain
Dave's
time. I'm in mountain time. I'm between you two. It is currently 8:36.
Yeah, because
Pacific,
you don't count.
Mountain.
There is
Central,
4 because you don't
Eastern.
count your own. That's why.
Oh, that's
That's why. Well, I think a lot of people don't count their own time zone because you
Oh,
never
so-
go, oh, Pacific time is 0 time to my time. You just go, oh, Mountain
It's-
time's an hour, Central's 2 hours, and East Coast is 3 hours.
But people
You
on
don't-
the West Coast don't count it because that's normal time. It's Pacific time. Then
I'm
all you
on
other people
normal
in the
time
world-
until I talk to you, jabrones.
It's specific time.
specific time.
Well, this is not a podcast about time unless you're talking about lap times, because this is a podcast about Formula One. And with that, welcome to the Tire Preference Podcast. I am Jake. I'm the leader of this spirit ship for this week, and I'm my first man, Tyler, and swapping the poop decks, Dave.
What up?
Hola.
And we're here to tell you a little bit about Formula One. So this is we like to call it a bye week. I don't know if that's appropriate,
But
but
we had an off week last week.
Yeah. So we don't have a race to cover, but there's some news to cover, and we can
There
look
is
forward to the next
definitely-
race.
There is
definitely some news to cover.
Yeah.
Yes,
A
some
lot of stuff coming out
news.
lately. Not good.
Yeah.
stuff.
But
So,
before we get rolling, what's
Of
everyone
course.
drinking?
Yep, we have to start with
Oh,
that.
Well, I got me a
Dave's
couple
raiding his
pints
wife's
of the black
wine cooler. Oh no, he's got can of stuff.
That's a really dark wine he's got.
Yeah.
It's a Pinot Noir Merlot blend.
Made in Dublin.
Nice. I got a Wonderlust IPA from Breakside in Portland. It's got a little wolf on the can.
A wolf. I've had that. They sell that at Catherine's up the road.
Which is quite delicious.
I got really excited because one of my all-time. So my favorite beer style is Russian Imperial Stout. I love it more than any other beer style out there.
Usually a little too strong for me, but they are pretty good.
Fucking
Yeah, it
dogs are
puts hair
barking.
on your chest and your ass.
Yeah, it does.
It does.
Come out looking like Wolfman after a glass of
Hold on, we're gonna pause. Just pause it real quick.
that.
This is my life. This is what I deal with. This is grassroots podcasting. I don't have a studio. My studio is my office. I'm the only one in the house, so I had the door open.
You got a
And the
fence now. You
dogs-
can let them out, right?
Still, that's true, but they're barking at something outside, and they could get into mischief if you don't look. They're 2 labs. They're gonna get into mischief. Hey! Fuck. Now she's coming to apologize.
It's the point that did it to me. The dog's gonna be like, oh, okay, yeah, I don't understand English, but yeah, I get sign language. Okay, I'll leave.
They understand, especially the big one. But so Eddie Izzard made a joke on Joe Rogan's podcast about like what do dogs say when they bark, you know? And he's like, I think that like, you know, when the dog barks, it says, assassin, assassin, someone get a gun. There's an assassin here. And I was thinking about it. My littlest dog, Stormy, does not say assassin, which, god damn it. We stopped the recording. Hello?
That's perfect. I gotta take a piss anyway.
Oh, okay. I'll be right there next.
Anyway, so now that we've gotten past that break, I think about that joke a lot because it's really good. But I don't think that our littlest one barks and says assassin. I think when she barks, her bark, if you could translate to English, would be different. different. This is different because if a storm rolls through, like a branch falls off and hits the ground, she like sees it and just like looks at it, and then goes, different.
Dude, ours is the same, man. A fucking leaf will blow by.
That's different. It's not the same.
That's great.
But anyway, we were talking about beers we were drinking, and I didn't get to say mine. So,
that's true.
My favorite, as I was saying, my favorite style of beer is Russian Imperial Stout. It's not barrel aged; those ones are a little heavier, but I do like a barrel aged. But Russian Imperial is like my favorite. And Stone made a Russian Imperial Stout that was like my top 5 Imperial Stouts. Like it was just the bomber bottle, so good. And then it disappeared off the scene, at least in Missouri, for years, and I haven't been able to find it. And finally, I went to one of the new liquor stores that popped up, and I found, boom, the espresso Russian Imperial Stout.
Totalitarian. And, that sounds about right.
What's that?
I said totalitarian. Sounds about right.
Yep. It is. It is 10.6 on the Richter, and it drinks real smooth.
Nice.
I might have to see if they have that out here.
Before we get rolling too far, one last thing that we were doing for a little while. Dave, where are you at nowadays? We haven't updated the fans in a long time.
Well, we talked about not updating the fans until he moves around, but we could do a check-in every once in a while. So it's good that we're doing this.
I'll say, well, I haven't moved. The only thing we've done is we've done some hikes in the area and shit like that, and did some sightseeing. Saw some mooses.
He saw some
saw some moosin. Many much moosin.
Saw that. Carnivorous, and they hunted packs
moosins.
No, yeah, there was
some buffalo.
Yeah, it was pretty dope, but
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's same spot in Colorado, hanging out, loving life, enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Well, you guys want to talk about Formula One shit?
You know what? I think we should talk about Formula One shit, and I think
Let's talk about some Formula One shit.
We're gonna touch
on.
About
some Formula One shit.
Like I said,
why are we talking about Formula One shit right now?
We're going. Well, we're trying to.
I can talk about.
I've been wanting to talk about Formula One shit this whole time. I'm surprised we're not already talking about Formula One shit. So we have some news stories to touch on. It's, as we like to call at the Tire Preference Podcast, a bye week. So no racing happened this last Sunday. So you're going to get a roundup of news stories. And there are a few.
Yes.
Some ones that came out. The big one I think that a lot of people are talking about right now is the next race, which we'll touch on a little bit later in the podcast. We got some other news stories we want to cut through. We'll finish off with our thoughts and some fun facts about Silverstone. And don't worry, predictions. Silverstone is like one of the most historic racetracks on the Formula One calendar. I think it's like one of the first ones ever on the Formula One calendar.
It's pretty old. It's up there with Monaco.
Yeah. And so it deserves a full episode because the whole story of Silverstone's crazy. The metamorphosis the track has been in versus like when it was first introduced in like 1930, whatever the fuck, and now
through the war and
it's absolutely crazy, and it's a really good story. So we're gonna deep dive into that later, but right now we're just gonna give you a little dip of the toe, find out the temperature, and we'll talk about it then. But first, let's get to the news, gents.
The news.
The temperature out there is cold because of blatant racism.
Yeah,
coming from a couple different news stories.
Yeah, the best part about that is, and not to get too ahead of anything, but the guy that called Lewis the little black man is the father of Max Verstappen's girlfriend.
And he said in another news story that's Nelson Piquet for those
PK
who didn't catch the story. He's a Brazilian F1 driver.
Not spelled PK, it's spelled the French way, which is stupid.
Yeah, I was thinking it was like Piquet or something weird like that.
I know that he's said some pretty not so great things in the past. He had a lot of not so great things to say about Ayrton Senna, who's another legendary Brazilian driver. He called him a taxi cab driver, which Sounds kind of
Well,
like a
he
dick.
also tried
That's
to.
probably a level 2 tier insult. You know where they come from.
Well,
Yeah.
he tried
And
to
then
justify it also in his
the most
statement.
Yeah, the most recent one he tried to justify, and this is the worst because from what I was reading, it's basically it's the like Portuguese translation to the N-word, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, my mom used to use that. It means love. It's a term of endearment." Like,
Oh yeah, I'm sure it is.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I mean, even in like Brazilian, like Portuguese, I don't think they just throw that around at anybody like without being like close friends or something, just like the way it is in communities around here.
Yeah.
And
people of our shade are not allowed to say it in Brazil. So
I can't really say it anywhere.
No.
Rightfully so.
Except for like really
Rightfully so,
whispering
yeah.
really quietly to our friends, because in case you didn't know, when white people use the N-word, it's with other white people and they say that like, can you believe that he called them this word? That's what they say.
Chris, if you want to understand when and where you can say the N-word, Chris Rock has a really good bit on when it's okay for a white person to say the N-word.
I don't think I've heard
Did you see that Key and Peele skit where they were like at a party and there's like a bunch of black dudes and one white guy and they're blown to the N-word like crazy, and the one white dude tries to say it and they're all like looking at him and he comes back with a black guy and he's like talking normally, and in the sentence when he would have said the N-word, he stops and points to the black dude and the black dude just says the N-word.
That's awesome. So given the context of what they were talking about, I don't think it was out of a term of endearment. I haven't actually heard the clip itself, but everything that I was reading was being awfully critical because it was recorded last year after Silverstone, which is the race coming up. And that's when there was the real fucking shitty crash with Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen.
Controversial.
I still claim to be Lewis Hamilton's fault, and I really didn't like the way he reacted afterwards.
No,
but
that's the part I didn't like.
Yeah,
that's the part I didn't like
because he ran around like he had won the fucking championship, and it was just like. And then when he sends him into the wall, the first thing he says is, "I was ahead in the corner," and then they go back and you see the clip, and he's way not. Anyway, so whatever.
Did you watch the video of Vettel and Alonso going at it in Silverstone in like was it 2014? And they are passing each other in comps on the outside and the inside.
Nice. So yeah, it can't.
They had the V12s or V8s.
But given the context of what they were talking about, I don't think he was using it as a term of endearment. And when everyone talks about, like, when you hear the commentators, they're always talking about like previous champions. They always talk about like, oh, Ayrton Senna, and like this was Schumacher did this, and a lot of people that are still alive are still in the picture. You know,
Nigel
still around.
Mansell.
Yeah, Nigel Mansell. Anyway, so the list goes on of like previous champions that are still around and that still do commentating and stuff, but like Nelson Piquet is not one of those people, and I think
he's
it's
not,
because he only says he's just a fucking old man who just says all this terrible derogatory shit about people.
Yeah, he's got no filter, and they're like, "Oh well, I'm old fashioned. That's just how I talk and all this stuff." And I saw some meme earlier that was like, "Well, you've lived long enough. You've lived longer, so like you have time. You've had time to learn."
That's a comedian. Chad Daniels has a bit about that. It's like, well, that's just how she was raised. Well, she has been raised. She has risen. It's time to get rid of that bullshit. And
she's old.
Start living in the modern world.
That's how it was raised. Well, then, like that person was saying they're risen, but then you should know that is fucking bad. That you're not allowed to say all the shit that you're saying.
You've had more time to realize that's fucked up.
And that kind of segues into the next one, which is I'll have to pull up his name, but he was a junior Red Bull driver, was doing a video game live stream and dropped the N-bomb. And this was the guy that did in Spain. He did
the Hitler salute, right?
No,
No,
that was
not
a different
that
guy.
guy.
Oh,
Different
this
kid.
is
That was another Red Bull driver
was-
that got
yeah.
the
What's the hell?
Russian kid
Where's the
that
Red
got
Bull
fired.
sourcing
Let's
it
say,
from the
were they
Aryan
pulling on
Brotherhood
Right.
fucking drivers?
Don't hold me to that 100%, but I think that he was also like a Red.
I think so.
I don't
too.
know if that guy was a Red Bull Junior driver. He might have been, but this guy legit was.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Anyway, I found out the Red Bull Junior driver's name. I want to say it's pronounced Yuri Vips. I believe he was an F2 driver.
Yeah.
He had driven for he drove during one of the practice sections in Spain, like drove the actual F1 car this year,
Mhm.
and had
That's a big
promising
get, too.
future. Yeah, that's a huge get. And then he decided to royally fuck himself
Mhm.
by getting on a live stream and saying a bunch of really terrible stuff, all of which Jake will say now.
I have the transcript right here. Let me pull it up. Okay. Are you ready? He said, I can't believe you. How the could you have ever thought that that was going to be good?
Ugh.
I fucking hate you, you stupid cocksucking, you loving, silly little. And then he finishes it with, you are the N-word. You are a N-word.
God,
Ah,
that is a slew of bad.
yeah.
It was, yeah, nothing that we can repeat, in good company.
All of that said, if you say that magical combination of words, it results in you getting fired from Red Bull. So
And essentially ruining your F1 career. Never having.
And
your
I guarantee he's
reputation.
never going to show up in F1.
No.
no, he will. That's it. Like you got your ass kicked out of like the Red Bull Junior team, and we're talking a job that 20 fucking people in the entire world do.
Yeah.
You have
You
were on your way to maybe doing that, and then you decide to get on to Madden or FIFA or whatever, and then just drop the N-bomb and then think that it's still cool. Like it's not. It's never has been.
No.
And that's just like
the funniest part about that is
What?
the Twitch stream he was on was the other junior Red Bull driver. It was his Twitch stream.
Jesus.
So
The one that did the
it's like-
Nazi salute?
no, not him. It was just another junior Red Bull driver.
Oh, he
And,
was like co-streaming with them.
I guess they were. He joined the guy that mouthed off. I guess joined his stream to play games or whatever they were doing together. And that's when he popped off. So you got to think the other guy's like, well, this looks good for me.
Yeah, the other guy's and
This
then Yuri's
wasn't
like,
me.
I got some time on my hands. You want to play video games? No, fuck no.
No.
You did that shit on my stream. I'm not fucking losing my seat for this. Fuck
Yeah.
you.
Put yourself on mute if you're gonna yell like that, you fucking knob.
Yeah, like
Well, it's
someone
fun- I mean,
earlier
it's-
this.
It's funny because the dude that went off got fired, and the other guy, it wasn't his fault. He just had him on his stream.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and he's
Well,
gone.
that's
But
good.
now
I'm
it's
glad that they
like
were
he
able
doesn't
to
have that
distinguish
competition.
because
He doesn't have that competition anymore.
it
He
should
doesn't
not
have
have
competition.
eliminated both of them. It wasn't the
But like you have
fault.
to think that guy, that Yuri, should have known going into this because there was somebody.
Well, it's
Oh,
Twitch.
God.
I mean, that's thousands of people watch, especially if it's like famous people.
Yeah,
like
100%.
streaming.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They like to watch those drivers do
You're not
racing because
screaming
it
at
turns
it.
out they're really good at it.
yeah.
But if
And
you're
like,
sitting there calling some guy a fucking and that he needs to go suck cocks in hell because he's been his whole fucking life, then just fuck out of here. Get the hell out of here. No one should be saying those words.
No,
Who
No
says those
one-
words anymore?
we're
yeah,
past
no
that
one should
shit,
be
man.
fucking saying those words on a
None.
podcast or a stream or anything like that.
Or even in just your private company. You don't need to be fucking saying it. It doesn't.
But if you got a
doesn't-
joke,
it doesn't
and one
need
of
to
those
be in
words
our
is the
vernacular
punchline, and you
anymore.
say it to one other guy, you say it really quiet, then it's okay.
I don't think so. I'm going on the record to say I don't think so.
And I'm not saying the N-word when I'm getting bleeped out, because I wouldn't even say that to get bleeped out, because I know Dave's gonna bleep me out with the words that I have been saying. I'm simply just saying words that are like,
And
I'm
Yeah.
bleeping those too. They're never gonna know what you're actually saying.
so
can't even sneak one in.
we basically, that was two stories of just really bad blatant racism in F1 and within the same fucking week.
Yeah, no one deserves to deal with that kind of hate. We're in 2022. Come on, get your fucking shit straight. Stop doing this racist bullshit. It's how we've always talked. Well, fucking the times are a changing. Go listen to Bob fucking Dylan and figure that shit out. Stop fucking doing this stupid racist shit. It's how I am not a racist and I live my life. You know how easy it is for me to not say racist shit? Pretty fucking easy. I gotta
Super easy.
All Dave has to do is bleep it out.
Racist thing to say it. So again, disclaimer: I have not been dropping the N.
He has not been.
In my
Or has
he has not.
We'll never know.
So
all hear
but
bleeps.
I just hate. I don't know. The last
follow us on
thing I'll
Twitter
say
to find
about
out the
it
words
is,
I'm saying behind the bleeps.
I hate that it's like, well, I've always talked like that. Well, the fucking times have changed. So enough.
Time to adjust.
You remember that time, like way back when you were a child, they didn't give anesthesia to patients when they were fucking, open heart surgery in them. Guess what? Times are changing. If you want, if you're gonna act as racist as you were when it was okay back in the day, you get to fucking live just like it's back in the day. Go to the detached bathroom behind the house to take shit in a hole. Find a rag to wipe your ass. Go to the dentist.
No fucking boner pills. No boner pills.
No boner pills. No. Oh, you have an infection. Guess what? No fucking. God damn. What's that?
Oh, you broke your leg. We're gonna get a mountain man and use a bone saw and cut it off.
Yeah. Here's some whiskey for
that was
anesthetic.
I kept wanting to say Prozac.
Laudanum.
No penicillin for you.
Yeah, bite down on this piece of leather while I cauterize your wounds with a fucking iron.
I'm gonna fucking chop your leg off. We're gonna stick the stump in the fire to cauterize the wound, you fucking asshole. All right, and I think Tyler had something else he wanted to talk about with that karting kid who had the hard arm.
Yes. So during the break, the legal department reached out to me here at Tire Preppers Podcast and wanted me to make a correction about the person who gave the hard arm during a karting event.
Podium.
He was a Russian kid, and it was as Artem. I'm not even going to try his last name. Severikin. Anyway, he made a Nazi salute. He was not part of Red Bull. He was racing under an excuse me. He was not part of Red Bull. He was in karting, so he hadn't even made it into like a car in like F3. So just
is a Russian kid.
Russian kid
racing hard arm during the podium.
A hard arm. So isn't the Russians, aren't they the ones that saying there's like Nazis in Ukraine and that's why they're fighting?
Yeah, that's a whole big thing. Like, communist socialism is like the opposite end of the spectrum of fascism. But if some people don't think that that's a linear line, that it's actually it's historical.
Well, I mean, you look at Putin.
Meets back up. Fascism and socialism and the extreme ends meet up at the same point. But that's for a different podcast.
Yes, it is.
Tom. This is a Formula One podcast, not a political one.
No, it is not.
But yeah, a lot of controversy this last couple of weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of controversy.
A lot of horrible things being said that don't need to be said this day and age.
You want to do a quick lighthearted story?
More than that.
Let's do a quick lighthearted story.
Let's lighten it up.
So currently, it's the Goodwood Festival of Speed out in England, which is a hill climb event.
Festival of Speed. That place
love
is
the
so
Goodwood
dope.
Festival of Speed. I saw Nigel Mansell, the F1 champion back in the late 80s, late 80s. Yeah. Anyway, he got to race a Ferrari. That was kind of cool. George Russell also took out last year's Mercedes car. There was a video of him doing really good donuts, and there was a video of him doing the most pitiful ass donuts I've ever seen in my life. All he needed to do was make a 180-degree turn, and they had to clear all the cars out of the way for him to do it. And then the car caught fire. So
I like Sebastian Vettel doing that 180 on in Baku.
yeah, how?
So if you guys wouldn't mind waiting in the shallow piss temperatured waters of the waiting corner, the pool, the waiting pool. There's a little bit more conversation I'd like to have about the mid-season testing, which is coming up. And ultimately, this is going to turn into kind of a stab at Lance Stroll being terrible at everything, even when he's trying his hardest. And so basically, what you're having now is kind of like so last year we had a new rule change, and that was that teams do not get unlimited wind tunnel time. It's based on where you finish, right? But the way it shakes down is your wind tunnel time for your future developments are going to be allotted throughout the season. So every 6 months, you're going to get new wind tunnel allocations. Because of this, Mercedes is in third place with constructors. They were in first place, so they got 75% of the wind tunnel allocation time. So I might be doing a really terrible way of explaining this, but if you just think of a number of hours, right? We'll say 100 just to make it easy. So the number of hours is 100 hours in the wind tunnel time. If you are in first place, you get 75% of that. So it's just 75 hours of wind tunnel time. If you're in 10th place, you get 115%. So 115 hours of wind tunnel time.
Oh, so you can go over that time? Yes.
So like back when they were developing these new cars, Mercedes only had 75. And I don't know what the actual number is. I'm just using 100 because it's easy. But the percentages are how they shake down. They only had 75 hours to do wind tunnel testing versus Haas, who had 115 hours because they were dead last.
Mm-hmm.
So it only goes up max. You could get wind tunnel testing time is 115.
Yes, 115%. Yes.
Right.
Okay.
That is
of whatever time they allow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which
seventh
basic
place
mathematics, that's why we're saying 100 hours.
Yeah, that's why we're saying 100 hours.
Yeah.
That is not, they get more hours than that, but again, just for ease of math. So seventh place does not, they are the benchmark. That's 100%. So if you are ahead in the top 10 in front of seventh place, you get less hours. If you're behind, you get more, but if you're on seventh, you get the mark, right?
Yeah.
So Red Bull and Ferrari are doing pretty good. They're first and second right now. So they are getting less hours than they did last year, especially Ferrari, who's taking a big hit because they finished fourth, I think, or third.
So,
well, they don't need wind tunnel testing time. They need fucking engine testing time.
That's true, but the wind tunnel is important.
How often is this wind tunnel time allotted? Like is it after the season's over, or is it like they get certain times during the season to use wind tunnels and figure shit out?
So I don't really be able to speculate because these wind tunnel tests are not, whatever data they get from these tests are not going to be implicated this year. So this is for the R&D facility back home to develop the next year car.
Okay.
So I think what it's saying is in this 6 month stretch that this is the time you get. This 6 month stretch, depending on where you finish, this is the time you get. And Mercedes, since they're doing so poorly, are getting more time than they did going into this new hybrid era. Well, not new hybrid, new body era, because it's using the same hybrid motors pretty much, V6 turbo, whatever. Yeah. But because of that, your positioning is kind of important. And almost like if you're in the midfield to low field, it almost adds like another thing of strategy because it's almost worse for you to finish better or not, better than not, because you might want that wind tunnel time for next season. If you've already trashed this season,
Well, it's
then
like
you want to fish. You're not going to want to finish higher than your competitor because you want them more wind tunnel time.
as Haas did last year by
Right,
pretty
they
much
just
tanking
trashed
their
them.
season.
Ferrari did the same thing,
just to focus on this season.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
Yeah.
100%. So, why this makes Lance Stroll suck at everything is because his team was I don't remember what place. I think they're in 8th place right now. They were in, I want to say 9th place, but you know what? Let me check this real quick before I start acting like talking like a total fucking fool. Let's do the teams.
Cheese.
So Austin Martin is in 8th place. They were in 9th place, which would have gotten them 100, I think, and 10% of the allotted time. But because Lance Stroll worked so hard on the last race and got 10th place in 1 point to put them ahead of Haas, and they lost.
Even when he does good, he fucks up.
So even when he tries really hard, ultimately he fucks up.
God.
Perfect.
By 1 point.
That's hilarious. I was reading a news story. It was some former F1 driver was saying that like Lawrence Stroll needs to have like a serious sit down and talk with Lance. Because Lawrence owns like an F1 team and like he's a money guy, so he needs to get some sort of return on it. And like one of his drivers
ROI.
is fucking doing relatively well, very competitive up
the
front.
4-time former world champion Sebastian Vettel,
who's the number 2 driver.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, no shit. And his other driver, who happens to be related to him, is doing fucking awful. So
happens to be related to him. I like how he says that.
Kind of funny because I'm pretty sure his
fucking
dad,
son.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure his dad was the financial backer for Lance.
Mm-hmm.
So now that Lance is on this team his dad owns, his dad's like, here's $1.5 million for racing on my team. Thank you very much. It's mine now.
Yeah.
It's like paying himself money.
I bet you he's businessman first, and he'll talk to his son, be like, "Hey, we're gonna have to go into
we're gonna have to send you back to our F2 team." Yeah,
eventually it's gonna have to happen because he's not doing anything on the track.
Lawrence getting like done with the GP. He gets home and gets off the airplane. He finally gets to his house. He like unbuttons the top 2 buttons on his shirt, loosens his tie a little bit, pours some scotch in a thing, and just sits down at the end of the bed and just rolls it on his forehead. And his wife's like, "What's wrong, honey?" And he goes, "Should have kept Sergio Perez."
Yeah. Or like he just gets home and he's like, "Thank God it's time to relax." And he like pours a glass of like scotch or whatever and clicks on like ESPN. I think it's like TSN Canada or something like that. And they're just like, "Coming up next, why does Lance Stroll suck so bad?" And just fucking click, like turns the TV off.
Right.
Or
but it's Lawrence Stroll, so he probably
like,
goes to relax. Like goes down to his secret man cave den where he's like put a code in and he has to make sure his fucking wife's not watching him.
After he deep throats a bunch of hot dogs.
Well,
that's why he grills the hot dog.
Nope. We're getting there. Don't give away any secrets, Dave. Gets down to his man cave. It's very covert, like a bunch of doors and all that stuff. Finally sits in his easy chair and it pans down to his glass, which is a deep stout glass, much like the one that I'm enjoying right now. And out of it is just a bouquet of hot dogs that he's just throwing. And we're talking finger, and that's it. These are Hebrew National. They're amazing.
Speaking of hot dogs, watch this movie called what's it called, babe? Everywhere.
Oh yeah.
Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's one of the goofiest movies you ever see, but it's fucking awesome. And there's like scenes of people with hot dog fingers Like, and it's supposed to be like emotional and serious, and they got hot dog fingers.
So
It's
everything you
hilarious.
told me about this movie, Lawrence Show probably just rubs
He
one
probably
out
gets
to
off
it.
on it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Goodness.
Hot dog fingers are the best thing in the world. They can
Sitting
put
on
them
the
in
edge
every
of,
orifice.
sitting on the edge of a fucking beanbag. It's an Austin Martin beanbag. So it's all fucking green and shit.
Right. Because he has sack on bag too.
Yeah.
Peels off
in the hot Canadian
hot
summer.
big.
Like,
Oh Jesus
Oh,
Christ! All right, so we're done
Jesus.
talking about millionaires balls and billionaires balls. So that was my thing. When Lance Stroll tries hard, he still fucks up. It would have
Yep.
been so much better for them to have gotten that one less point. But whatever. That's neither here nor there. That
That's
dude'd
just
rather be
funny.
fucking surfing anyway. So get him the fuck out of the goddamn sport. He doesn't want to race. Anyway, moving on. So next week, boys, it's one of the big ones. It's one of the big
Silverstone.
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 I was talking to Annie last week about it, and I'm excited about this one.
Yeah.
It's a great track, man.
It's
just
a long track too.
I'm excited too, but I also I gotta point this out because we're also coming into the 4th of July weekend, which is like Independence Day. Left the British colonies, we're independent, and we're gonna spend Sunday afternoon glued to the TV to watch the British Grand Prix.
Well, and
I
that's
know.
okay because 4th of July is on a Monday. So
Yeah,
That's true.
it would be just like if we were back in 1775 when this
Yeah,
happened.
F1 was
almost
big in 1775. There was a
Well,
lot
no,
of
I'm
people
just saying,
sitting around.
on Sunday, we were all cool with the Brits. July 3rd, July 4th roll around. Different story.
And we said, no.
We said
happy,
no more.
Happy traitorous colonial day, whatever.
They
Queen
used to
calls
call
it.
us cowards because when we shot at them, we didn't do it in a line like they did. We
Oh,
hid
yeah.
behind trees and used guerrilla warfare. And they're
Yeah, like
oh, they're
like
fucking
smart folk.
cowards. Yeah, fucking
Yeah.
idiots.
Yeah.
Fucking
If you want to watch a good,
backs, fuck the British.
if you want to watch a good documentary about the Revolutionary War, you should watch The Patriot, which was narrated by Mel Gibson.
Yeah, because he's
And
not.
started.
That's not part of
He's
the
not
theme of the
crazy.
episodes, like terrible racism and putting fucking like. Did you watch? So do you know like that movie Apocalyptico that he did?
Mhm.
I've
Did
heard.
you
I never
see that?
saw it.
You never saw it. Okay, so did
No,
you
I'm
see
bad at
So
watching
Tyler, I
movies.
know you did, but Dave, did you ever watch that in the theaters?
I watched it when it first came out long ago. Like I think it was on like VHS when I watched it.
Right. So
I think it was DVD, but
it's a brutal movie.
brutal.
It's a brutal
Very
movie.
brutal.
But the theatrical version and the home video version have a few differences. And
Oh.
these differences just kind of explain how fucking crazy Mel Gibson is. Now, I get it. A lot of people that are listening to this might like Mel Gibson, and that's fine if you do. I remember one Mother's Day, mom wanted to have a roll of cookie dough and just watch Braveheart, and that's fine. But
It's a good flick.
it's a good flick.
That's a great movie.
In the
Guy's
theatrical
got great
release
acting skills.
of
It's crazy.
Apocalyptico, there are two scenes that are extra fucked up that didn't make it into the final cut because Mel Gibson's a fucking psychopath. And there's a part, so if you've seen the movie and you didn't watch it in theaters, there's a part about midway through where the guy, the main character, I think he falls into a pit or something, and he sees this mountain of skulls. And the camera is panning up this mountain of skulls, and then eventually I think ends on like this peak, right? Well, in the theatrical version, when it pans up, there's a guy dressed as Waldo, and he's just like on
Waldo,
fire.
like where's Waldo? Waldo?
Like where's Waldo?
That's
he's on
fucking
fire.
amazing.
It's yeah, and so there's another part where it's like on this they're doing some kind of like hallucinogenic thing, and they see like these guys, and they're South American people. They're covered in like this white ash or whatever. And in the home video version, if you will, it's a really intense scene. But in the theatrical version, it's broken up because as they pan to the right, Mel Gibson is shoulder on shoulder, elbow on shoulder with one of the guys going.
Are you fucking
Yeah.
kidding me?
Jesus.
I am not fucking with you. Those are real things. You can Google them. They happened. So, like I said, this was, I've said this 2 or 3 times now. Magic of editing, maybe once. This is what we like to call the Tire Preference Podcast, a bye week, where this last Sunday before we record, there was not a race. I don't know if that's technically correct or whatever, but fuck you, dudes. We're doing what we want here. So this was a bye week, and
It's a fucking bye week.
it's a bye week. It's a bye week.
It's a
so
bye week.
we're
and we're also
on the
about to go
Wednesday
into
before the British Grand Prix, which is held at Silverstone, which is a beautiful historic F1 circuit. It was unconfirmed, and I'm saying this because I didn't double check my shit before we got on this podcast, but I think it was the first official F1 circuit because F1
I thought
started
Monaco
in
was
England.
Well, I guess
No,
so. I guess
Monaco is
Monaco's
not.
just been on the circuit since the beginning, but it didn't start there.
It has. I think that they raced at Silverstone officially in F1, Formula One, as the FIA designated, a couple of years before Monaco got on there. Monaco's just has changed the least and is
Okay.
kind of fun because it's ritzy, whatever.
Oh yeah, it's the like you
if
said,
you
it's the crown jewel of the fucking
It's the crown jewel.
calendar
If
or
you
whatever,
showed
so.
someone the first Silverstone track and you said this is Silverstone, they go, no, it's not.
Totally different.
What is this? It's a complete. So basically, you had the first rendition of Silverstone way back in the 30s, even before World War II. You had two runways that came in almost like an X, right? They were separated just a little bit, but it was basically an X. And what they did was they used those as the 4 straights, and they made track, which is so every airport, whether it's military or commercial, always has a border road that runs around the fence. They do that to repair the fence. They do that for patrols, but it doesn't matter, civilian, whatever the fuck. Even private airports have a border road, and they would use some of that for the other bits, if you will. But it created a bit of a problem because you had at one point you had 2 straights, right, and cars are going full tilt bug straight toward each other with
that's not
only
good.
hay bales to separate them because safety was not a thing back then.
I don't even think there were helmets back then either.
Yeah, leather helmets,
Just the goggles.
It's so fucking crazy. You watch those guys on the podium; their faces are completely black with soot and rubber, except for where their goggles were.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Fucking crazy. But so they shut it down during World War II because it was an airport. It was an active military airport, and there's been a lot of changes, a lot of turns added, a lot of turns taken away. They moved the start finish line once. They built a whole new paddock, which is what they call the Silverstone wing, the wing building. That's the paddock and pit area.
Now,
they added chicanes. What?
Damn it. Well, I already forgot what I was going to talk about. Go ahead.
You interrupted me for nothing.
Well, I interrupted you and then you kept talking. So I waited and then I forgot. And then you said, go ahead. And it's gone.
All right, it's gone. It's gone to the timeline
Gone
now.
forever.
But basically, Silverstone is one of the big ones on the thing. Everyone wants to race there.
It's a great track too.
It's a great track. It's one of the longer tracks too. The first Grand Prix there. And this is a little weird because it says on the official F1 racing site or F1 website that the first Grand Prix was in 1950, but from what the baby bit of research I did before this podcast, they were racing on Silverstone in the 30s, and I don't know, it might have not been called Silverstone in the 30s. It might have been called something else, but even this layout that they have right now is completely different than in 1950. It's almost unrecognizable, but it's pretty long. The circuit length is almost 6 kilometers. and they do 52 laps. So if you've been watching racing, especially this year, if you're new to this and you've been watching this last 3 weeks, their street circuits are really high laps.
70
in the 70s,
usually.
like higher 60s, 70s, kind of like that. It's because the track's a little small. This track is 5, almost 6 kilometers. So the amount of laps that we have around that is 52.
Yeah, it's a bigger track, but it's
Shorter
a
race.
sweet track.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Shorter race lap wise, but I think they always go for like a time and a distance on each race.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, 100 liters of fuel.
Yeah, it's the same distance each race, but it's just that distance is 52 laps around Silverstone.
Right.
Yeah. So how do they figure that? Like some tracks are, I mean, if there's going to be a variation between like, I mean, they could do 52 laps on this, but what if if they did 51, they would have, I guess, too much left to go on the race. But if they go 52, it's like their fuel is fucked on it or something. Is that like a issue, or is it all the same?
A lot real quick before we get to that, because there is a big explanation for that. Just to clarify for our non-metric system people listeners, 5.891 kilometers around the track is 3.6 miles.
That's a good track. It's a good lap.
But so as far as the fuel management goes for the bigger tracks, there was a video that I think was shared in the group earlier about Lewis Hamilton talking about a steering wheel and all the buttons.
Yeah.
And he kind of explains how that goes, because he goes, I only have 100K of fuel, kilograms, KL. And I have to manage that. So, and he used the example in laps, out laps. When you're going in lap to a pit, you want to go as fast as you can. At that point, you don't care about the tires. You don't care about anything else. You want to get as much distance between you and the rest of the field, quote unquote,
before you get into the pits.
Before you go into the pits. And the outlap is going to be slower just by nature, because the tires are colder. You're getting them warmed up and you're just going to be going slower. So he'll turn the fuel up or the mixture of the air to fuel ratio up to get more bang for his buck and go faster for that in lap. And then the out lap, he'll turn it way down because he's going to be going slower anyway. He doesn't need to go full tilt bug. And because that's making up for that last thing and the last lap for fuel consumption. So that's what they're doing every single turn, pretty much every single
crazy
lap. When they're fighting for position or defending a position, they're turning their fuel consumption up. And you got to know that, okay, if they're spending, in the first half of this race, 10 laps or more fighting to get fifth and sixth, first and second, they're going to have to, the person in front is going to have to slow down and take the less fuel mixture enough for the later part of the race, as well as the guys attacking, because they have to finish the liter of fuel, and they manage that out, but they can turn it up to get a better bang, pretty much.
That's crazy. That's crazy how they can do all that shit. It's you guys are nuts. I mean, I can barely I have my volume and like track controls and shit on my music. I don't even like hitting those buttons when I'm turning on fucking right. I'm doing it at like 40 miles an hour.
And they have a team of engineers sitting around too that's like calculating all this stuff. Like, they decide to change strategies in the middle of the race and go for a 2-stop versus a 1-stop. There's a handful of people calculating like, okay, well, and then they just have to do all these like new calculations to see if they're going to make it to the end of the race and shit.
Right.
Yeah. I will say, like, the precision involved in just every on race day is just unreal. Just everything they have to they have to finish with a liter of fuel at least, and they get that down to the fucking I mean, they might have a little extra, but they get it as close as they can, and
they really do get down to the wire.
That's a lot of engineering and
it's
a lot of behind the scenes stuff. I mean, you got the guy driving, but there's a lot of people behind the scenes that make race day
Yeah.
possible
Well, and
and exciting as it is.
Yeah.
we
It's
have not
incredible.
sat in an F1 car or done anything like that, but Dave and I and Tyler a little bit too. We've done the
Crashed.
video games and all that, and those video
Crashed a lot
games.
in
I mean,
the video game.
it's kind of what.
Said I crashed a lot in the video
Crashed
game, even with the suggested racing lines.
Mhm. Well, and so, but those games strive to be as real as they can, and you can set the stuff. And you know what? We're not even going to get into the argument of this will never be the real thing, because of course it won't be. But the simulations are a decent representation for anyone that doesn't know anything. You can get in. This is a bit of what's going on. And if you go into one of those F1 games, it's very detailed.
Yeah.
It's so detailed that even in this day and age, they sacrifice graphics just to get the physics, the braking, all of the bullshits right for these games. But basically what I'm getting to is the game kind of teaches you how to drive one of these cars. And it's saying that like you can go full tilt bud, but you're gonna have to do certain things around the track on slow sections that will save you fuel, like coasting into a turn. You wouldn't think that that's going to save you fuel, but it will, because you're not pressing the gas. And it's this weird synchronicity between these super basic on paper ideas morphing into these hyper complex on track things that cause you to save fuel. Like lifting, going into the corner, you're letting the aerodynamics brake you. You're not pressing the gas as long. You're not using as much fuel. They'll also factor in what the percentage of a safety car is on this track. So like Baku last week, or not last, was that last week?
Before
Baku, week before.
Yeah.
Canada was last week. Where's my head at? Anyway, Baku's got a really high rate for safety cars, so they were probably running those cars a little rich, because they knew a safety car would happen and they could slow down and not use as much gas during the safety car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so much into
like
that.
amount of engineering and like the precision too. Like they'll figure it out. Like, all right, if we run the race this way, do you click this button and that button and that button? Then, like at these spots in the track, like if you have your like fuel settings on certain points on the steering wheel, there's like a dial they could use.
Yeah.
If you do this way, then we'll finish the race with the exactly 1 liter of fuel,
right?
Enough, because they'll test it.
It's just so crazy how that works out so precisely, because you got to also configure in, like you said, Hamilton's constantly upping and lowering his fuel mixture to.
Well, he's doing that, and so another thing that these guys are doing is, so they have, with that steering wheel, if you've ever seen a picture of it, it looks hyper complicated, and that's because it is hyper complicated. Literally, that steering wheel literally controls everything in the car. And
those so I have multi-million-dollar fucking steering wheels.
Yeah, I think the average cost of a F1 steering wheel is anywhere between $800,000 and $1.2 million just for the steering wheel. And that's because that's your dash, that's your brain, that's controlling the whole damn thing. So I have what I would consider a modern car. It's a 2018. It's a Golf. Volkswagen. The Germans are pretty like high tech shit. So I got a lot of like windows I can put on my HUD, if you will. Like my fuel consumption, what the car's doing. I got the graphic I can pull up, or like
if Toyota's good about that too.
What's that?
So Toyota's good about that too.
Yeah,
my Tacoma's got all that shit on it.
If my tire's low, if my gas tank's having a problem, if a door's ajar, it'll show me. I can bring up a graphic of the car, and it'll highlight where the problems are on it. It's pretty cool.
Tire pressures, it's good.
It is times a billion on what they're getting on this thing, and the problem is they don't have a big screen, so they all have to read it in numbers shit. So each corner on each track is an individual characteristic, that there is no repeats, right? So you are constantly changing your brake bias, not only just front and back, left and right as
right.
well.
Yeah.
And so you have to know, okay, I'm going to turn 16, 17. It's a hard break, a less than hard break to a sweep. And then I got to be ready for 18 on Silverstone before the pitch straight. So I gotta change my brake bias for this turn. I'm coming out of this turn. I gotta change the brake bias as I'm turning this car and hitting the radio and getting ready for DRS to change for this turn. And I gotta not only do the brake bias, but I also have to do the diff lock. There's a different diff for entering a turn, in a turn, and exiting a turn. So you have to set the diff to that too. So if you've ever watched this sport and just think it's dudes driving a car around the track by hitting the gas, the brake, and turning the wheel, you are fucking wrong. Because
not only that, I mean, they're doing it how many turns a race and how many laps a race. So I mean, they're doing it probably thousands of times by the end of the race.
There's 18
they're
turns
fucking with that
on this
wheel,
racetrack,
right,
and there are 56 laps. So 56 times you have to do 18 adjustments on the car. Oh, and you got to make sure the motherfucker behind you don't pass you, and you got to try and pass the motherfucker in front of you.
Yeah,
and you got to do your pitch strategy.
It's not just you're hitting the gas or hitting, changing gears. I mean, you're fucking mentally in this thing from the start to the end.
Yeah, and at insane fucking speeds too. Like the slowest, you're doing all these like things.
Would you say earlier?
Butthole
clenching speeds.
Yes. Yeah, asshole clenching speeds. The slowest turn in the F1 calendar is that like real hard, almost 180-degree turn in Monaco, and they still they're doing it like 40 miles an hour.
40 miles an hour.
And that's like on the edge of what, like before, like you start losing, before the car will slide out from going too fast.
Right. And if you're on one of those like clover things they have for getting on and off the highways, you know what I'm talking about? Where like the two exits, you could just do a lap around those if you want. The recommended speed for a passenger vehicle is 25 miles an hour, and that's a far looser turn than the turn at Monaco. These cars are doing it 40 miles an hour.
Yeah, and you're doing it at full lock, and you're making these adjustments on the steering wheel, and you're watching your like rear view mirrors and stuff. Like it's insane, like the amount of concentration that these guys go through.
They are jet fighters on land. People have made that distinction a couple times, and it's 100% accurate. They really are. They're doing the kind of calculations and shit that fucking people dropping bombs on a third world country are doing.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I think the common thing they would say was that you were an F1 pilot. And then I've heard like seen videos and stuff where people are like in like fighter jets and they're like F-18 drivers or something like that.
Woodbridge. Fucking wine coolers, dude. But it's the thing. It really is the thing. It's crazy. And we said this 1,000 times. We're going to say it one more time. There is nothing out there that's a vehicle that goes around a lap faster than F1. Not one thing does it. There are things that do better straight line speed. There are things that do faster cornering speed, but there is nothing that goes faster than the F1 car around any circuit.
I'll say I've watched like MotoGP races, and those are fun because there's a lot of like overtaking and a lot of changing of positions.
They get so close to the ground.
It's like a lot of fun, but they don't even come close to what an F1 car can do around that track. I mean, the way they hit them corners, those speeds, it's you can't do it on anything else.
Well, even like American Le Mans or Le Mans, where they get the I don't know what they called. I think it's P1, because they have like the GT2 through 3, and they have like P1 and P2. I think. And don't quote me on that because I haven't watched American Le Mans in a long time. But these P1 cars are like purpose-built, fucking proper V12 race cars that are meant to go around a track fast, and they got 12 cylinders pumping in a mid-engine setup, and they don't even hold a candle to the F1 cars. They're just so fucking quick on any track.
Oh, there was something I wanted to add on to that little spot. Tyler was talking about that uphill challenge.
Goodwood,
did you mention that fucking it was like I don't know what car it was, but it was something ridiculous. And the guy like broke a record getting up in
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it was
30 something
all
seconds.
electric. 39
Yeah.
seconds around
Yeah.
the Goodwood time trial.
Yeah,
That
and he had a
is
big
fucking
fan on the back
crazy.
sucking the car to the ground.
Just-
Mhm.
I mean, I was watching like the outer cameras of him doing it, and I was like, oh Jesus Christ, that is
So-
ridiculously fast going up.
They race everything on that Goodwood Hill climb. Everyone races there.
I want
And
to see an F1 car on that.
so
They've
they've
done it.
had what?
Several, yeah.
Yeah, they
Red Bull's
did
done
several
it.
of them, yeah.
Mercedes has done it. They did the Ferrari cars too.
And
like,
they even did like
this
the
car set
V12s,
the
like
record.
old-
The all
well, it
electric
did set
one
the-
set
so,
the
but
record.
here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. That car was using a fan to suck it to the ground, and they did have that in Formula One briefly, but they outlawed it because it's too good.
An actual fan that like
It
Like
works
reverse,
as a
like,
vacuum
Harriers
and
and
sucks
sucks
the
it to
car
the
to
ground.
the ground.
yeah.
Yes.
it's like
Yes.
a pool vacuum. Like you just
Yes.
It-
It
s-
sucks
yep.
you to the ground, and you can corner around stuff like you wouldn't
yeah,
believe.
that
You
seems
can
pretty
accelerate
OP.
like you wouldn't believe, because you don't ever have to worry about oversteer, understeer. It's going to keep you on
Oh.
the ground. You set the car for oversteer, and you are going to go around the turn.
That's almost yeah. I can see why they might have taken
It's
that
a little
away.
cheaty. It's a little too much. So they outlawed an F1. So that car could potentially outlap an F1 car, but the runtime is probably better for the F1 car than the electric car, because I guarantee that bastard ain't running for. It's not running at those speeds for that long.
No,
No,
They were
it
not
probably had
anything
about,
over a minute, and that thing's probably going to start
I
losing
was about to
power.
say it
But that
probably
was
had
still
that much
incredible
in it
to see,
just to get it up.
Oh,
Yeah,
it was
pretty
amazing.
cool.
And it's so small, narrow, short, with a short wheelbase, which is also important
Yeah,
for
I
going
just
around
saw
turns.
that fucking hay bales and a silver bullet coming right through it. It's like that is awesome.
One of my favorite runnings on Goodwood is well, of course, it's the Fiat. I think it's F97. No, what is it? It's the Beast of Turtan, and it's this 27-liter 4-cylinder fucking monster they built to be the fastest
Jesus.
car in the world in 1930. It's fucking epic. When it is like, just look up YouTube videos of it. It's a Beast of Turtan, and it's dope. And it's just like, it idles. It's like blah, 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 blah. It sounds like a fucking German offensive artillery, and
Jesus.
it's fucking dope. The other one I like a lot is it's a 97. Oh, just before, just after the millennium, hill climb, Toyota Tacoma, and the dude is like trying to put the hammer down, but it's so much torque. It fishtails almost the whole Goodwood. That's good. It's good. Any Goodwood thing is good. Well, we're not talking about Goodwood. We're talking about F1. So let's go back to Silverstone. So a couple more things we want to talk about. Silverstone is that it is a clockwise circuit, as most of the rest of the world has clockwise. The only counterclockwise or anti-clockwise are over here in America.
I love how they say anti-clockwise, by the way.
Anti-clockwise sounds a lot cooler than counterclockwise.
I do. I think so.
Yeah.
There are 2 DRS straights, and that's between 5 and 6 and 14 and 15. And the speed trap is at the end of the DRS zone going to turn 15, which I think, don't quote me on this because I don't have them up and I don't have them memorized. So fuck you. I think 15 is cops corner, where
I don't think it's 15. Maybe it is
I thought-
15.
I thought it was closer to. Well,
it might
yeah,
be.
it
might
was-
be.
it was after that final straight, after Hamilton Straight or Hanger Straight or whatever they called it, wasn't it?
It could be the 9, could be Cops Corner, or it could be 15. I don't know which.
I think I'm with Jake on this one. I think it might be 15.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, so I was just throwing that out there. I thought it was for some reason after like Hamilton Straight or whatever.
I
they
think it's
call
at
it
the end of
now.
Hanger Straight.
Yeah, which they renamed Hamilton Straight, didn't they?
Yeah. Okay. So I was wrong. That's Stowe Corner.
Stowe Corner.
After the Hanger Straight is Stowe Corner.
Okay.
Corpse is in between 8 and 9. So you're coming into 9 is
No, it's
Corpse Corner.
it's Cops Corner, right? Not Corpse Corner.
It depends on who.
But
the
I
fuck you
mean,
ask.
who you ask? Yeah, obviously Tyler is gonna say Corpse Corner.
God, that was fucking.
And I'm
So
He's still
getting
upset.
constant messages from people on Discord.
Ooh, live questions.
No, they're asking me to play Grand Theft Auto because they're losing a battle. They need help.
Wrong channel. Go to
channel.
Snickle Fritz.
Yeah. Go to Snickle Fritz. Anyway, so yes, so Silverstone's gonna be a lot of fun. It's a classic track. It's definitely a one to watch. If you're the more casual viewer, this is one of those courses where you don't necessarily have to watch the practices or whatever the qualifying. You can just watch the race and have a good
It's
time.
all about the race. Yeah.
It's all about the race. The street courses are a little more important to watch the practices and the qualifying, especially if there's inclement weather like we had in the last track. But really, this one's just one of those ones where you can just watch the.
Especially like this is one of those tracks, like you said, it's one of the oldest on the the calendar. So it's most of these drivers pretty much know this track by heart.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an iconic track, and they're ready for it, and they're prepared for it, and
They're ready for it.
the simulators, and yep.
Given that, let's move on to the next section where we do our predictions. So, gents, what's gonna happen? Let's see. How's my Zoom meeting going? Dave's on top, so let's do Dave, Tyler, Jake. Dave, what are your predictions for the Silverstone thing? Go first.
All right, so prediction for Silverstone. Since I haven't really done any kind of research or any kind of preparation for this, I'm gonna hope Ferrari figures some shit out and podiums. I'm hoping for a Ferrari podium. That's all I'm hoping for, just one of them. I think Red Bull is going to come out swinging, and they're going to do well. And let's see, Mercedes. I think we're going to see George Russell top 5 again. Mr. Consistency, going to stay Mr. Consistency. And yeah, that was a tough one, man.
Consistency.
Well, when people listen to this, they hear an hour and a half, but this has been like 3 hours. So anyway,
it's don't measure it in time, because that's not what's slowing your speech. This is 3 Guinness and 3 wine coolers. That is causing consistency.
4 Guinness.
4 wines. You finished the whole 4-pack?
No, 4 Guinness.
Oh, Guinness is only 4.7%. So
yeah, that's why.
That's not what's contributing.
Anywho,
Woodbridge to keep pounding.
Okay,
down.
so I said Ferrari, hopefully one guy on podium. Red Bull, I'm gonna say they might get both drivers on the podium. Right. Mercedes, Russell top 5. We'll see what happens with Hamilton. I'm not making any predictions there. Wild card. I'm gonna say wild card. Ricardo gets on a podium.
I'm
gonna say Ricardo has the race of his life and gets on the
race
podium.
Of his life, and McLaren getting on the podium. They've been pretty slow this whole season. That's a big get. At
like
least
I said,
8 cars in front of him.
It's a wild card, and it's a way wild card, but
it's a way wild card because you got not only Ferrari, Red Bull, and Mercedes in front of them, but the Alpines have been very fast.
It's an ill-advised wild card, but it's a wild card.
Hey, that's what the wild cards are. They're not advised at all. That's why they're
it's more of a hopeful, man. I want to see Ricardo do something.
I'd like to see Ricardo. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Tyler, what do you got?
Tyler's predictions are a Red Bull. The Red Bull machine is going to march on. I think that Verstappen will do really well, and Perez will be right behind him, or vice versa. Doesn't matter. I think they both have the speed, straight line speed for this racetrack.
And they've both been carrying great pace.
Yeah. So I think it'll be Red Bull 1-2 and probably a Ferrari in third place, whether it's Sainz or Leclerc. I'd like to see Leclerc finish a race. I think that would be good. So my prediction will be the two Red Bulls in the top two and maybe Leclerc in third place. And you'll see, Mr. Consistency top 5. And I bet Hamilton will be top 10, but I don't think he's going to have the race of his life.
Right.
Wild card prediction is Lando Norris on the podium.
I like that one too.
Another McLaren driver.
Two McLarens up in the
British driver.
Yeah, the British driver. So I think that given the way like the current things going and looking back to a lot of my predictions at other tracks and all that, I think it's going to be Red Bull podium, both cars. I think that Mercedes is going to come in third. We're looking at George Russell podium for this one. If George Russell doesn't get the podium, Hamilton will because of the team decision. But you get two British drivers on a pretty quick car that's starting to come into its own on their home race. I think that's going to happen. I think that Ferrari's not going to be able to get their shit together as is usual. And if they do get their shit together, they're going to fuck up a pit stop and they're going to disappoint their fans again. And my wild card prediction is that the storybook ending happens and Hamilton gets first place for whatever reason. But I think the Ferraris are going to not show up again. I think that their season is done and they're going to start to falter a lot.
That's so hard to hear, but I'm
a Ferrari fan, but I'm also a realist. And damn, were they not doing a great job at the beginning of the season? But their reliability is dog shit. Yep. Their pit strategy is dog shit, and you need both of those things to win a GP. And Red Bull and Mercedes are doing a lot better at that.
We also said
so
Ferrari is one of those teams that like they're not going to bend. They've got their decisions they're going to make and they're going to do them and they're fuck everything else. Like, but you're also why do you keep? They need to hire a new strategist or something. I don't know who decides things.
No, so I like
Matteo
Benito. He is a good guy. He's a lot better than the last guy, and Ferrari's been doing that kind of thing that the Middle Ages did, where you hire a general to do something, and when they fuck up, you behead them. And Ferrari's doing that a lot throughout the years, and they did not do that with Matteo Benito, and he's been doing a good job with the team he's got. He's gotten results, and there's a lot of that shit you just can't help. You can't help science going off.
No.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can't help the engine ishies that they've been having. And I mean, that's something that, obviously they've been looking into, but I mean, they got to figure something out. I mean, engineers for other teams are
anyone that's like, just even got like an ounce of like mechanical ability just knows that like sometimes cars just fuck up. And I mean, it sucks to see when you have the pinnacle of motorsports, the most dialed in motorsport, and it's just fucking up. And it just kind of goes to show you that that's what happens all the time.
Yep.
So, but before we end, there's a couple other things we need to address. We have not addressed. That's one. I have a different mic set up, and you might be wondering why that is. And it's got a lot to do with the fact that I finally got my fake tooth all figured out, and now I look like a normal human being instead of a fucking meth addict. But I could not find this little windsock for the life of me. I couldn't find it, and today, actually, I'm not even fucking shitting you guys. Today, I was looking for that thing, and I had the puppy in my office, and she's kind of like doing her thing or whatever. And I'm feverishly looking through boxes and all this stuff trying to find it. And I look, and she's like faced out the door, like head back, and she's got it in her fucking mouth. I don't know where she found it, but she had it in her mouth. So then I spent like 5 minutes chasing the toddler around the house trying to get it over fucking maw, and I finally got it. Slobber soaked, but there's no holes in it, so that's good. And so now I have the regular mic sock, the wind sock on my mic.
Oh, you
And
sound good.
thanks. The other thing we need to talk about is Dave's fucking hat.
Nice fucking hat.
Nice fucking hat. You know, it's 2 curls and a Corona patch away from being South Florida, which I think you just need for that part.
Well, to tell you the truth, the wife bought these before we set out on our trip, knowing we were going to be working outdoors and whatnot. And I'll tell you what, man, up here in the higher altitude sun, it is brutal in the sun.
Yeah, you're closer to the sun, and it will burn the skin, especially if you're Irish unpigmented people like we are here at the Tire Preference Podcast. Show the underarms, boys. Underarms,
very pale.
Look at this.
I always tell people that I season like a Pringle, so I got the seasoning on one side and it's nothing on the other.
I said I my freckles connect over here, and on the frog belly side, it's all white.
It's nothing.
So that's the reason for the dope hat, and the reason I'm wearing it is because Tyler and Jake both pressured me into it before the whole podcast started. So.
Well, that's because Dave was fucking around. He's like sitting like this for like a half hour just trying to get it in the right spot, and we're like, just get the one that's got the brim around the whole thing, and you're like,
at first, see that?
Oh
my god, Jesus. At first, I had the blues hat on.
That's like the opposite of what I got.
St. Louis native, got to wear the blues hat, but it was so hot. This is so much better. Anyway, that's the story of the hat. And I like that it made the whole podcast. I love this thing. Dude, it shades me. I get no sunburns. So great.
Pretty shady. I just got the opposite of what Dave's going on, so I gotta
fuck off. Yeah, look at
literally the opposite. It's a mohawk, so it is 100% the opposite of it.
For those that aren't watching right now,
you got those widow peaks. You better watch out. You're gonna get male pattern baldness. I'm like, dude, my fucking grandma, my dad's side was 89. How old was grandma when she died?
She was into her 90s.
Into her 90s, full head of hair.
Yeah, I'm from both sides. People lose their hair. It sucks. Yeah. I started thinning out and getting like the widow's peak at like 24, and I'm 40, and there we go.
Well, I definitely got the widow's peak, but it just accents the mohawk so good. So
that's why I shave my head and wear a hat.
Nice. Well, but you haven't shaved your head in a while, have you?
Yeah, it's been a couple weeks. Yeah.
He just shaves the back of his head.
So let's go on into plugs, fellas, since we keep talking about my hat.
Yeah, let's go ahead and plug it. So, this is something that we've been kicking around, not doing, but I say fuck it. Let's do it every time. Why not? So I'll start it off. I'm Jake. You can find me on Instagram at the Red Kennedy 45. I barely ever post on there, but you know what? Go ahead and give me a follow. Why not? You look at your explore page more than anything else on Instagram anyway, so don't fucking lie to me. So if you follow me, it's not going to be that big of a difference. You can find me on Twitter at the Red Kennedy, and you can find the podcast at Tire Preference Pod, and you can find the podcast on YouTube as you're listening to it right now at the Tire Preference Podcast. Please share with your friends, and if you're listening to us, like and subscribe. It helps us a lot. It takes 2 seconds. Man, I watch so much stuff on YouTube, and before I started doing this podcast, I would just kind of just let them show up in my "this would interest you" feed. Like I've been watching this one dude play this stupid game for like 6 or 7 months, and he always shows up in my thing, and I never subscribed to him, but he always asked for it. I'm like, fuck you, I'm not gonna. I don't want to. But now that I do this now as a thing, just do it. It takes 2 seconds. You know, who the fuck looks at their subscribe page? It's just going to give you shit that you want. And you know what the best part is? If you don't want to watch or listen to it, you scroll past it. So just give us a like, give us a subscribe. It helps us out. It takes 2 fucking seconds, you know. And you can find us on other stuff very soon because we've made some political decisions amongst the podcast, and I would say within before what comes after July,
August.
before August, you'll find us on the streaming services.
Oh, here we go. Fingers crossed. Hopefully it works.
Yes.
Tyler, you can find me at t.k.66 on Instagram for lackluster Instagram content. I never post. And that's it. That's the only social media I really pay attention to. Please like and subscribe to the podcast. Every time we have a new subscriber, we get excited. So
we get very excited. We talk about it at length. We're like, who's the subscriber? Who are they? Oh, yeah. So, and then like the two we had before this most recent one was literally two guys at the bar that I took their phones. They went on YouTube. I subscribed. They weren't even paying attention. They don't even know they subscribed to the podcast. So
either way, it helps.
We got to get it to how, we got to get to how we can.
Yeah.
All right,
Dave, where can we find you at?
Yeah, you can always find me at I got my Instagram page, maximum_Dave, where you can see me doing really much of nothing. And then you can always follow me and my wife on our journeys throughout the US on Featuring Friday on Instagram. Which we just Friday. Like I said, we just posted some dope shit on some mooses that we saw on cool drive, and yeah, so
well,
keep up with us.
It's a pretty good page too, because it's not like it's not super personal. You're not like it's just you're not starting a video. This is Dave and Eddie doing this thing. Look at this fucking birch tree we found. You're just like, okay, here's a nice mountain. Here's a moose. Here's a raccoon.
Basically, yep. That's
Here's
it.
a raking.
We see some cool shit. I'll take a picture of it. Post it up.
Yeah. So
that's where you find us.
What? This is gonna get Dave and I do this more often. Go follow Schnickelfritz. If you want to know how to spell it, just go to our YouTube page and there's a link to it.
There's a link to it now. Yep.
It's impossible to spell because there's numbers and letters, and that's
SN1 KKLEFR1TZ. Not impossible to spell.
Yeah. Well, you can go on YouTube, but you can choose the speed at which you watch.
It was the only way I could get Schnickelfritz without putting numbers.
You can put it at 0.50 to hear how Dave spells that Schnickelfritz. But yeah, go check that out. There's a lot of videos of him and I playing games, a couple of our buddies. So go give that a watch.
Yeah, there's a lot of nonsense on there, but there's some funny stuff.
If you like dogs, and who doesn't like dogs? But you can go on Instagram and look up Sweet Stormy Adventures, and that's my wife has started Instagram for
pupper dogs.
The wee Storma, the Tormenta. If you're into that brevity thing, so yeah, give it a go. Go look it up. Go look up all that stuff. It's a lot we ask, but I mean, we don't ask for that much. We're not asking for
word of mouth, best thing for people to spread this. So
just word of mouth. Tell a friend. I guarantee you're gonna learn something every time you listen to this podcast.
Yep. Even if we're stumbling drunks, we're still gonna learn you something.
I think at the end of each podcast, we're pretty stumbling, we're pretty drunk. But I would wager to say that even the most seasoned F1 person is going to learn at least one thing, whether it be a 2-second quip or a 20-second, 2-minute, 10-minute rant. They'll learn a whole
bunch of bleeps.
Yep. Or a whole bunch of bleeps. And if you want to know what the words I said, follow us on Twitter, DM us on the Time Rhythms podcast, and I'll tell you exactly what it said.
He switched to Coors Light. I love it.
I did. I got the silver bullets. Hashtag vibes. Or
yeah, they
started Sebiv. If you started reading from the top down.
Oh, good deal.
All right, let's end this motherfucker.
Let's do it. Wrap it up, bitches.
Jake, what do you always say?
What
do you always say?
Oh, I always say keep within track limits. Whether it be life, whether it be your job, whether it be your marriage or relationship, keep within track limits. You're cheating if you're not, and it's just the way to go. And you know what? If you keep it within track limits, it's never your fault. So keep that in mind.
Say hit the gas, that's how you get ahead. So just fucking hammer through it.
Except I always
then
say,
Dave
the
would
fuck-
That's all I got.
the exact opposite.
hit your breaking points. You know what? All that. You hit the gas. It's F1 racing. We want to see some exciting races.
No.
And-
No,
and-
Dave, don't. No, hitting
love
your
you.
breaking points is a good thing to do because you can't go full tilt bug around the circuit.
I
Oval
know,
track, sure.
I was
But
just trying to
this
allude
is-
to the. I just want to say I love you. I love everybody. You guys are awesome. Thanks for
It's
listening.
like at some point in the podcast, like we're 20 minutes before we're done recording, and Dave is just focused on saying he loves everybody.
So it's like, when can I put in? I love you.
I was
I
waiting
love
for
you.
so long.
I love you.
I love.
I do. I love you guys. Thanks for listening. You guys are keeping us going, so thank you very much.
Yeah, you are you're keeping us going because, I mean, we do this because we love it, and we'll probably, keep doing it.
Honestly, I'd
listeners,
probably
but
keep
it's
doing
more
it if
fun
there's
when there's
some-
more listeners. So.
Yeah.
And tell a fucking friend about us. I always tell people, hey, I got this podcast going. If you have some time to waste, to listen to it. So tell a friend.
I put it on my socials, but I don't think I have any friends or fam that enjoy F1 racing.
Well, so that's you'll never know, and that's the beautiful thing about F1. It's almost like alcoholic. It's kind of weird. I'm saying that when I'm buzzed. Alcoholics Anonymous. You never know who has been in the AA program.
Hard word to
Yeah.
say when you're
Hard one.
All right.
Alcoholics
Well,
Anonymous.
thanks for listening, and catch you guys next week.
Yep. Thanks
Yep,
for listening.
absolutely.
Share with friends, and we'll catch you next week. So enjoy Silverstone. We'll give you our recap next week.
Fantastic. Can't wait. Love you guys.
Follow us, you fuckers.
Yeah. Talk to you next week.